Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members and guests. Welcome to tonight's regular meeting of the West Shore Photography Club. It is May the 1st, 2023, and we have a special presentation for you tonight, but just a few orders of business before we get to that. I'd like to remind you that next Monday night, May the 8th, we have no meeting. The following Monday night, May the 15th, we have a special presentation by member Don Lovick. He'll be telling you about a photo project that he's been working on for a couple of years. But at this point, I'd like to welcome Joe Farrell back from Patagonia, and he'll tell you about upcoming trips.
Okay. Dennis, I think, could you mute yourself for a minute? I think it would be wise to let people know that if they're watching the recording, that there is an audio problem on Dennis's part. So he's going to be, and don't think it's anything wrong with your computer. It's a little bit of an issue. So we have a trip coming up this coming Saturday to Gerhardt Machinery. And at the trips committee, our leader for those Gerhardt trips is Eve. So Eve, you want to give us an idea of what we're going to be doing on Saturday and the timing and lenses to use?
Sure. We're meeting at 9. Am I right, Joe?
Yes.
Okay. 9 o'clock. It's 8 acres of what we nickname a Mack truck graveyard, but there's much, much more than Mack trucks. But they have a ton of old Mack trucks, rusted, the Bulldog insignias, all kinds of things like that. They've got a lot of old machinery, a ton of rust, gears, majority, it's outside. There's one big pole barn building that some of the trucks are in, but you will be outside. So, clothes to be outside in. I don't know if it's going to be cold or not. Who knows right now, but good, like a hiking shoe type of thing. I don't use knee pads, but if you want to use knee pads, you don't necessarily need a tripod unless you might want to do something extraordinary with that. Really, any lens you want to use, you can do some macro there. Anything. I've been there, I think 4, maybe 5 times now, and I get something different every time I go. There's a lot of good, and it won't matter how many of us are there. It's pretty spread out. No restroom, but there's a Sheetz down the road.
Okay. And also Lidditz is right close to there too, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You actually, I think, if I remember right, you drive through Lidditz,
Okay.
like the little downtown area. It's
Okay,
nice.
great. And that's a really cute small town to photograph in afterwards if you wanted to do that. So, and then the following Saturday on the 13th, we have Kiwanis Lake. And where is Kurt? Kurt, you want to give us an update on that and what we should be bringing and stuff?
Yes. Yeah, we'll be at Kiwanis Lake Saturday, the 13th. We're going to be photographing, hopefully, some chicks that they may be feeding. And lens requirements for that, pretty much what was for the last trip, which would be anywhere from, say, a 200 millimeter as long as 600. This one here, we would recommend if you want to bring a tripod and set up and just focus on one nest, that works. Unlike before, where we were trying to get birds in flight, you get a little more freedom without a tripod. But this one here is more of a static shot, so tripods can be useful there. And hopefully we get some good action, some feeding there.
Okay, great. We do have some other trips planned later on at Rolls-Royce Museum here in Mechanicsburg. Believe it or not, it is a Rolls-Royce Museum, and we're going to be photographing in there. And then we're going to be doing some Steelton skateboard park shooting with Norbert Fry, which is really an action-packed kind of a session. So that's our trips. And if you have any ideas, please send them to us. We have a trips committee meeting coming up next week, and we're going to be planning our schedule for the late spring and summer term, so to speak. Dennis, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Joe. And I apologize for the audio issues. I'm not sure why I'm having a problem, but I'll keep it short, keep it brief. Okay, this evening, we're very pleased to have Eve Smith doing a presentation for us. Eve is an accomplished photographer who works professionally doing weddings, so she has quite a lot of experience doing photographing people. So we're pleased to, she's going to share the screen, and we're pleased to have her do her presentation. So Eve, it's all yours. Thank you. Okay.
Here, let me get into this. And am I sharing my screen yet?
Not yet.
Hey, there we go. Oh, that's not even what it,
We're not seeing it right now.
okay. Boy, we practiced no problem before, Dennis, and I don't know why. Give me 1 minute here. This is what I want.
Take your time.
And here we go. Now I think I got it. Phew. There we go.
Well, we can't see it yet. Oh, there we go. There it is. Perfect.
All right. So sorry.
Okay. And before,
right. Oh, go ahead.
Eve, before we start, would you
Yes.
want people to ask questions as we go along, or do you prefer to have them at the end?
They can ask as we go.
Okay, great.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
So I'm just going to give a little bit of verbiage before we get started on this. Some of the things that I'll be discussing. As we see in this photo, my first one here, it's not always about creating a masterpiece piece of art. I want to show you photographing family and friends so that there's all kinds of different aspects of it. Casual, less posed, candid, emotional, that kind of aspect. So it's not always about the masterpiece of photo, but it's capturing the moment and the emotion of the moment is what I really want to bring across. Sometimes you'll have some pre-visualization of what you are going to do. Sometimes that does not work out. I will show you that. And sometimes it's post-visualization. After you have it, you see something else, and I'll show you some of that also. I want to show everyday events, the things that surround you all the time, and aspects. I will show camera work and cell phone work. So you'll see a grouping of all of that. I also want to explain the perspective. A lot of us already know it, but the scale, ground level, eye level, bird view level, many different aspects to feel like you're in the shot without interrupting the scene. Sometimes I'll show some that are environmental, that you'll see the entire scene, and other ones I will isolate the subject so it's just the subject itself and why I would show one versus the other. And again, sometimes things don't work out. So be flexible, go with the moment as to what it's going with, and you'll be surprised sometimes you get something better than you thought you would to begin with. So my first photo here is a child's birthday. Mom's got it's actually my daughter, my grandson, but mom's got a card. They are totally cracking up. You feel the connection between the two of them. You feel what's going on. It's not just a kid opening gifts. I'm down at their level, but I'm not interrupting the scene. Neither of them are looking at me. They're not taking notice to me. So we get a feeling of the emotion there without it being static, stagnant, or we're not involved. So we're viewing it uninterrupted. And obviously we have birthday parties, every family has them. So it's just one little, if I was standing up, I wouldn't have gotten the same viewpoint. And again, if I would have said, look here, what have you, it's just a true moment that we get to see without having to interrupt, I would say. This one is a shot that foreground is soft focus. I these two were laying down, I wanted to focus on, they're both my granddaughters. I wanted to focus on the back. My back granddaughter, her eyes are gorgeous, and that's where I wanted. Kind of bounces off of the baby's outfit also, the blue and the blue. So it's very, you might think to shoot this with both in focus, but I wanted the eyes to be the main focus. I got on the floor, they were on the floor. So it's shooting directly at the subject that I wanted us to notice. I'm sorry, my dog is barking. I'm afraid you can probably hear her. I'm sorry. This is another moment of just every day. Now I set this moment up, but I didn't actively participate in the moment. I actually put a little bubble machine in here and then took the bubble machine out and in post editing. But he's in a tub of water, just having a good old time, not paying a bit of attention to me, playing with the bubbles. Props, easy little props you'd have anywhere to put, especially with a child. Bubbles are always great to do. I got a whole series of this photo, but it's just that innocent play. Again, casual life, but a few little props will take you a long way. And anything, this is a garden tub that I use in a garden. And again, I was by myself, so I used a bubble machine because it's kind of hard to blow bubbles and take photos the way you want at the same time. I did a soft focus in the back, short depth of field focused on his face. I do everything in manual. These are all camera shots versus a cell phone. I'll show you some of the cell phone shots then, but I wanted, if you zoom in, he's got a little water droplet on his eye or on his eyelash. So again, an innocent little moment that the setting himself, it's simple, but captures a little bit of play. This one is a pose shot, but not really. I was photographing the little guy for his first birthday. So I used the chair there, had him on it. My granddaughter had just gotten back from a birthday party and was really sugared up. She was not to be in the photo. It was all about his photos. And she kept flying. I have this shot, I think it's like an 85 millimeter. So I'm pretty far away from them. I did an f2, by the way, which is a little unusual to shoot people in. They're not always on the same plane, but I was just photographing him. So I wanted focus straight on him, total soft focus on the back, shallow depth of field. She kept flying between myself and the camera. I took one shot and I told her, all right, get in the scene. She posed herself. I took one shot. So sometimes things aren't always planned the way you think they'll be. I have this enlarged hanging in, and then I turned it into black and white. I did not shoot it in black and white, but I have this enlarged hanging in my living room. So be flexible. Instead of getting irritated with her, I asked her just jump in the scene. I took one shot. Okay, she was satisfied. Now get out. So you got to be flexible. Things happen, especially when you're photographing children. And sometimes it's easier to photograph non-relatives than relatives. They tend to, I don't want to say misbehave more for you than somebody else, but go with it, be flexible. Things can change in a heartbeat. And I got one of my favorite photos just because I said, all right, let's switch directions a little bit. And I like this. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Jim Bredlinger had a question for you. Jim, are you there?
Yeah, as you go through these, Eve,
Mhm.
could you talk about where the light source was for the photograph and how far the background was from the subject? This
That's
is-
important. I appreciate that. I'm pretty far away from them, and the back tree line is pretty far away from them. This is actually, they're up on a sand mound. So I'm shooting, I'm able to shoot directly at them by standing. I didn't even have to kneel down, just the way the sand mound is. I put the chair up on that. The light is coming from their my right hand side, I guess I'd say, their left-hand side. And then this is all natural light. I was far enough away from them that a flash would not have done anything. I did not have a soft box out there. Actually, not any of these photos did I use any studio lighting. If I had any light on at all, it was a speed light on the camera with a diffuser softbox on the speed light, but this is without any flash or anything. Soft lighting outside, but you can see on her, it's just a little bit off to their left, my right. So thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me just, this one, same thing, no flash. This one, actually, there were lights coming in from the windows. This is all natural light, also pretty soft, I'd say. And this, I had no flash. Now they're a little on that. You can see the light coming in behind it. It's shining on his face, and she's a little in the shadowed side, but you can see a shadow behind her from the light in the room itself, not my flash. Thanks, Jim, for having me do that. So I spoke about things not going the way you think they want to go. So little guy, same day, first birthday. So, you know, a traditional thing anymore is to do a cake smash and give a 1-year-old a cake. Well, when they were little, they didn't have sugar. Hence the prior photo, her reaction to sugar and coming home from a party. He didn't know what to do. I stuck him in the back of a truck with a bunch of trucks as my prop, thought it'd be adorable, no shirt on, little chunky kid. He was not happy, as you can see. So I improvised and I threw her in again. Then he had no concern whatsoever. She started eating it right away. And then, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. As you can see, he's wearing it by this point, but I still wanted it just to be of him. So as he has settled in now, okay, I'm kind of getting what I'm doing, kind of thing. I asked her to move over a little bit and I cropped in on him. So now you don't even know she's in this image. So my preconceived, pre-visualized image that day was not happening. And again, with children, those kind of things happen. So I improvised, set in a second prop basically, and got what I wanted. Now this one, I'm trying to look here. I have the same settings as before. And again, soft outdoor lighting, did not need to use a flash. Typically, I'll use a fill flash if it's needed. If I have any shadows on the eyes, I will put my speed light on, low setting. If I can bounce it off something, I will, but I diffuse it just so that the eyes aren't shadowed. Did not need it on this day. If I can do natural light, I'm happy, but it doesn't always work that way. So again, cropped in, flexible, change directions if you have to. This is another one that did not go well. I know I've shown this before. This is actually a cell phone picture, but I have it framed and in my house. So this is my niece and nephew and my grandchildren, and we just wanted, they don't live near each other. We don't get them together as often as we'd like. Wanted to get, hey, guys, get over. This was not a moment to have my camera with me. So I had my cell phone. Get over here and let's take this photo. Reed, the younger one, is posed the entire time. Now, my sister was beside me, so he's focused on her. I was sort of secondary even in taking this photo. They were goofing around. They had been outdoor playing. He's all sweaty, etc. Reed, the blonde that's sitting, had brought this Batman mask. My grandson put it on and would not take it off. So we wanted this cute, nice little documenting photo of the four of them. He wouldn't take the mask off. Reed is posed waiting the entire time, and I don't know what the two girls are even talking about. goofing around. And when I've shown this before, Diane Parisi was the one that said these kids have got to reenact this when they get older. So in all honesty, I got a much better photo, memorable photo, than if they had all been behaving and just standing there so we could document the moment. So again, be flexible. Cell phone, excuse me, I got really bad allergies right now, so I apologize. Cell phone, I always have my cell phone on. So again, it was not a moment that I had my camera with me. So my backup is my cell phone for moments to capture. And this is, again, one of my favorites also.
Eve, if I might comment,
Yes, please.
it's my experience too that I agree. I'm usually looking for that perfect setup with, the way I want them posed. And
Yes.
with young kids, a lot of times that's impossible. But
Yes.
some of the best pictures have been spontaneous when they did their own thing instead of following my
Yes.
directions.
Yes, yes. And again, I mean, like as in some of the other ones, not participating into their scene, which I actually was trying to participate in their scene and coordinate them, but they were ignoring us, and it was much better than I could have made it to be. So,
Eve,
yes, Terry.
your cell phone, what program are you using for photography?
Yes, I'm glad you did say that. I have an iPhone. My iPhone is an older one. It's an XR. They're up to the 14 now. But I'm glad you did mention that, because I did want to say, I took this photo into Photoshop and I edited it. Now, of course, my iPhone doesn't shoot RAW, it shoots JPEG. So when you edit a JPEG, the adjustments have to be small or you'll get oversaturation in a heartbeat, because it's all compressed pixels, compressed, it's a compressed file. But I do, if I'm gonna print any of my cell phone pics, I'll take it into Photoshop and I get it print ready if I need to brighten the image, what have you. So I'll minor editing, but I'm glad you brought that up, Terry.
Thank you.
Mhm. I'm showing you moments that didn't really work out the way you think they are. This is at the end of the wedding, hot Raystown Labor Day weekend. And doing, the family shot. Well, the little guy didn't walk yet. So he was being held because they were in, outdoor and all that. Didn't want him a mess. He was over it. He wanted down. He's over it. If you notice, the groom's boutonniere is now upside down at this point. And my granddaughter decided that she would, I don't know if people know what twerking is. I didn't know my granddaughter at this age would know it, but she bent over and started shaking her butt at her parents. And they all lost it. So this is actually enlarged to an 18 by 24 on my daughter's wall, because it just shows stuff happens. And, it doesn't matter if it's a casual event or, one that you're trying to pose. Life happens, and this got them exactly personality wise. This is a good bit ago time wise, and I'm showing my family because I photographed them the most, obviously. But this is another one. This is a family photo. It was after my daughter got off work. We had like a half an hour of light. I met them at this area down near them, and I had shot the four of them. I had shot some images. So I had them walk away, blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to do just my daughter and my granddaughter, and I had them walk away. Well, Ray bent over and picked up a dandelion for her mother as a flower. My daughter, which you would not know, is actually scolding her because she's not just walking away. But I ended up capturing this moment where they're looking at each other. You do not need to see their faces to understand the connection that's going on right here, right now. And everything about it kind of mimics a little intimate moment. This, I do have my speed light on and diffused light to brighten them up more than the to make sure they weren't shadowed, I guess. But again, go with whatever it is. And I love this little sweet gesture that's going on, and the innocence of a child that thinks a dandelion is a flower. And, so don't always have to see their face. Don't always have to force a composure. And just look, observe, and be ready. Now this one, the lighting was horrible. This is a little bit of a story also. So this was a district gold medal. I'm down with paparazzi on the floor, and I am not a big person. I am squeezed in. I actually shot this on, I think it's a 1600 ISO. No, ISO 2500. I did not take my flash with me. Got a lot of action shots, etc. So I don't hesitate, if I have my camera, to get down anywhere I can. I don't get in anybody else's way, but I'm not shy that I'll go down, and if I want to get a shot, I'll get a shot. All right, so I'm actually photographing him. You can see it's giant center, it's horrible lighting, etc. But I'm looking at him, he's looking at me. But the story behind this that it's a post visualization, didn't know that I was going to capture. The second place boy wrestler, he had never beat him. He had wrestled him his entire career. He had never beat him. And he beat him for the gold medal. And so, here he is, a nemesis to him. And the first time he ever beat him, he got a gold medal at District Gold. And what I captured was him looking at that medal, really, I don't want to say envious, but what he lost out on. So it's not even cropped well. I was going to crop it. It was going to be a crop of just him. And when I looked in the camera and saw this look, it told a whole other story. So again, post-visualization sometimes, it's not always what you are thinking you're capturing, but after, when I noticed that, I did not want to lose him out of that image. So, and again, I'm in like pretty tight corners with other, basically journalists in that area. He had been, interviewed with ABC 27. The gentleman on our right is the reporter, and they're using a cell phone at this time, by the way, and they did have the camera, the video camera there too. But what I'm showing here is the environment also. So I could have cropped in, great happy face, sweaty, post competition. But what I'm showing is what they are seeing. They're videotaping him. You can see a slight smile. You see there's, the background, you understand where they are, but still he's the main subject. So sometimes you're going to want to isolate, and sometimes you want to show the entire environment. And this was, again, one that I wanted to show what was going on, and sort of triangular aspect of it. Keep a soft focus on the background that you can see it, but doesn't distract from this. This is a JROTC competition that was held at Redland High School, which really set up a great shot because it's all red, white, and blue. But I was there as an observer, and I have a camera with me. And after the competition was over, the commander came over to me and asked me if I'd take a group photo, and send it to him. So these are circumstances that may happen if you have your camera with you. And innocently enough, there was no, reporting or anything. People had cell phones, asked me to come, set this up. So I set this up over here. I told them where I thought we should do it. Tried to alternate so we could see heads. Still kind of losing this guy back here, but I'm pretty distance away from them somewhat to get the whole group in, asking them to shift a little bit. simple things. The front row, I have them on one knee with one knee up. If my feeling is, if you have them on both knees, it looks like they have no legs. Next time you ever see an image like that, check that out. So I wanted them like that. There's, as you can see, some are looking at me, some are looking at cell phones beside me, but I was able to capture them under the flag. Everything's red, white, and blue, which just fit the whole theme, and then was able to send it to the commander. But again, don't hesitate. If you're there with the camera and someone asked you to do something like that, he was more than happy then to have that image. At the same competition, I'm sitting in the bleachers. I'm a spectator, and this is my cell phone. This is a panoramic shot. So I actually had taken this, well, a second shot of this, and did take it into Photoshop, used the transform adjustment and straightened everything out. But I liked this almost, not quite, but almost fisheye view of the whole thing, kind of circulates the whole way around. This is, you know, they're done, they're getting spoken to at this time. So again, we all carry cell phones. So what you can do with a cell phone in an impromptu, just spectating moment. So this is another one, hard photo to get, way back in a dark auditorium, lights on in the stage. These are little ones. There was multiple on the stage, but as they don't really know what to do, instead of lining up, they're kind of all over the place. She's actually watching somebody telling them what to do, but the light on her just shone right on her. I have this image that I've cropped out, but I kind of like the aspect that you see the environment. You see that I'm in an audience. I'm pretty far back. Somebody else is doing photo. So it shows the whole setting instead of just a portrait of her. It's environmental. So isolated versus environmental, I can get more than one shot out of this. I can get sort of the portrait of her, but this is the environmental aspect. So I do tend to shoot wide. I think Joe has said the same, because I'll take it in and look at it and see what I want to isolate. Sometimes I do have to isolate just because of what's going on, but that way you can easily have more than one image out of a shot. But tough. We've all been in a dark auditorium. This one is, oh, I didn't have metadata on that one. Sorry. I wrote most of my metadata down, but that one I did not have on. This is a birthday party, and I have a series of, I think, 3 in here. So it's a surprise party. It's in an Italian restaurant with horrible lighting. Everything was yellow. Everything was yellow. So I shot this. I do have my speed light on. I have it with my softbox on, so I can capture them and sort of highlight them into the moment. There's people all around me also, but the daughter threw the surprise party for her dad. This is their first interaction of the party. So again, the interaction between the two of them is what I was looking for. I did post shots at this party, but that's not what I want to show tonight. I want to show the interaction between subjects, and she pulled off a good party. They're playing a trivia game, and somebody somebody got something that she didn't think they would ever get. So I like that I kind of got this hand gesture, and yet he's down here looking at me. The two of them are looking at the person who's speaking, and this is her personality. She's very bubbly, great hostess, throws a good party. And again, these were images that I was actually commissioned to do for them. And didn't just want posed shots. Got plenty of posed shots, but I wanted this candid, it shows the personality, the interaction with the other people that you don't need to see. You see that they're seeing, looking at something, and good memories for them to have. Again, same thing. She's reading off the answers to the trivia. Somebody said something totally ridiculous, and I'm capturing her in response to that. So it's not always about a posed shot. It's about the personality. This is a wedding I did late in the reception, obviously. And at this point, I know Dennis can relate to this. You've shot everything you can shoot, but you're still shooting at the reception. But this was a beautiful moment that brides always have horrible shoes on. She was hurting. She's going to put these, God bless her, ugly Crocs on. And he is helping her and tending to her. And you see this in her face. So again, this is a personal moment of theirs, unaware of me. I'm not interrupting it. I'm capturing it for them, and just a realistic, real moment for them. So observe. I'm a big component of needing to observe what's going on and capturing things that are unexpected. Same wedding, guys are goofing around. So we're doing these pose shots and they start acting, alcohol was involved. Let me just put it that way. It was destination wedding, reception and wedding are at the same place. And I'm just shooting like, this is who they are. So, we do the serious pose and then they start acting up and you just go with it and love it. She's the only one that's really looking at me. He kind of is. And these two are just losing it. So shadowed area in this, I had to keep moving them. We're in a pathway, a lot of speckled lighting, if you can see down here, which is tough when photographing people. So I had to keep moving them so that they were either totally shadowed or in the light. I have my speed box on, my speed light on with my softbox on it so that I don't get deep shadows in their eyes. So another moment, I shot this really wide. People were dancing. It wasn't that interesting when you're in the reception area and people were dancing. It's really hard to isolate and get them what you want. This little girl, they had donuts instead of cake. This little girl, not even looking at me, isn't aware of me. She's got crumbs, she's getting crumbs here. It's just that innocent focus on her face. I actually darkened because I had my flash on, kind of spilled over to them, which I didn't want to focus on them. So I took it into Photoshop. I generally don't do a square format with people with portraits. This one, I felt called for it. I really wanted this triangular interaction here of her arm and her face versus anything else. So just a sweet moment in amongst a bunch of stuff going on. This is a senior portrait, and I'm including some of these that are posed and such because props, attitude, background, color scheme all play into what you end up with. The truck was brought for a prop. He had a couple different clothing changes, unplanned by me, other than I try to ask for, not real, like neons and things like that. And we were going to use this. We had some with and without. But when I realized with the grill and the color of the truck, and then the sun was gleaming off of this, so it gave that bluish reflection of the sky. he just went right with all this coloring. So, some of them I had him with the door open and all this, but this is my favorite of all the shots I got of it. I wanted this. We did lots of smiles and stuff, but this was the serious. I shot an angle up at him. So he seemed bigger than me, bigger than the angle that I was photographing. I think that adds to the attitude, I guess I would call this. If I had been up here and, maybe right here was the level that I was at, it wouldn't have as strong of an impact as showing him the pose, I guess I'd say. Centered him. This had a Harley Davidson license plate. I just cloned it out. I didn't want the distraction. It's his dad's truck. I gave them an image with that on there, but same thing, shallow depth of field in behind him. It was senior picture, it was fall time. So I've got the coloring back in here, and I'm fine with the brightness because of the depth of all of this coloring. A nice contrast, a nice setting, nice shot. I did do in post, I had to dodge him a bit. I was getting, trees are off to our side. I did have my flash on, and you can see where the light is coming, where the sun is coming from, but I was getting some shadows in the depth of here. So I did some dodging. In Photoshop, I always do an adjustment of curves, anything in the aspect. I get rid of defects. I do have an image that I'll show you that. So if anything distracts me, I'll clone it out or what have you. These little things are part of the personality of the truck. But like I said, I didn't want those in this portrait style. So the angle, the perspective, the prop, the setting, all plays into everything. It's another senior portrait. And I did the same thing. I shot up on him for the sake that I wanted to see this bell. He was in band, that was his thing. I did this in color. I liked it better in black and white. Did a very shallow depth of field. I'm getting back to what Jim had said before, which I should keep sharing. I'm relatively close to him because we're on a bridge down by Arcona. This is actually the part of the bridge. So I'm not real far away from him, but did a nice shallow depth of field, focusing on the eyes, not having him look at me. And I'll direct the subject. Like, don't look at me, look down, do your thing. And I made sure I was at an angle. None of this was blocking his face. I could see in through here. You can actually see the reflection of my flash in there a little bit. And the simplicity of the black and white, for me, why I turned this black and white, was it really, you just kind of go back and forth with this. Nothing else distracted me, and it was all about that. So sometimes color can be a distraction. This one I felt it wasn't. This one I wanted black and white, so it was more about the subject, the angle, the prop. Again, I'm big on props, and these are easy props to utilize. Here's my other prop. This is actually up at the Environmental Center in Mechanicsburg, and we were done shooting. This was a senior portrait. We're done shooting this. There's a pathway that you can walk between trees that arc over, and that's where we had been. It started getting dark. So I hadn't even gotten my little stool out. We were walking out and the sun was setting. I'm like, oh, hang on, we got to do this. So I get this out. I'm sorry. I got the stool out. And what's important with this is I wanted to show the environment, obviously. Shallower depth of field were in the aspect that we're very, very far away from the background. I'm not that far away from her, but this is way back in the distance. Use my speed light again with my softbox. always, when you're shooting any person, focus on the eye. But what I really want to set up here in comparison to this is a guy pose. I should have stated also, I either always have a guy put their thumbs in and fingers out, or fingers in and thumb out. If they put their whole hand in their pocket, if you see this, you can't unsee it. It looks like they don't have a hand. So whatever they're comfortable with, and in this aspect, kind of gave the tougher guy kind of thing. And this, I told her to, put her hand under her chin, but and I may have explained this one other time also, you never have them lean on the hand. The chin will it'll get squished. So you give the illusion of them leaning up and having their head on their hand with it barely touching. This is a female pose. This is a very feminine pose. Nice soft hand going this way, and very triangular with her arms and also with her legs. So it's just a nice, I don't have any, what's the word I want? Oh, keystoning or anything. I'm not super close to her, so I don't have her feet enlarged. Impromptu, not what I thought we were going to get, and just happened to get, we were walking back to the vehicle, saw this, and sometimes you can only shoot a person for so long. If you're doing these kind of portraits, they get stale looking. Their smile gets stale. So this is at the end of the shoot. I'm not pushing her other than directing her this kind of aspect of the pose. And she's still nice and fresh, great smile, etc. Hair is another thing on a female. I told her to have this on behind her, but I didn't want it all behind her. I didn't want it all in front of her. So it kind of flows with the shape of her back. Typically, sometimes I'll have to clean up some hair. Hair is not easy to clean up. So the more I can get in the when shooting the image versus having to do post, the better. But that's another thing with girls. Guys, not so much. I mean, their hair is what their hair is. But a girl, be cognizant of, if you're posing, the hair, hands, body, stance. This is a cell phone picture, just hanging out. She is a big reader. She does this a lot with her hand. This is exactly her, unposed. I'm not involved in her moment. And my cell phone shoots automatic. The only thing I can control with it is if I do it in portrait mode or photo mode. But you see sort of the movement of, the fanning, I guess I'd call it, of the book, what she's doing. So it's capturing the memories and the personality at any given moment without even, just observe the surroundings, what's going on. And light is coming in, the windows are off to her right or left. So it's natural light coming in on her. Slightly, a Rembrandt lighting is, where this would be totally shadowed. It's a little bit of an illusion of that, but not intentional and not dramatic. How many of us go to kids' sports games? This is when she's young, it's bunch ball, and that's exactly what it is. Kids don't spread out at soccer games, they play in bunch. They have multiple subs. She's off to the side. She's sitting on the ball, waiting to go back in. And she's actually looking at another game over there. She's not even paying attention. Here's the coach. The coach is at this age is on the field. So the dynamics of this is going from her to the kids in the bright orange. She's got a bright pink ball. It's the dynamic of the environment. Great little portrait of her to clone or to crop them out, clone the coach out. have that shot. But what I captured was this. I got down, squatted down, her level, photograph, not shooting from above. So this is a perspective of hers, I guess I'd say, but with her as the subject and them as the secondary subject. I have a before and after of this photo. This is after a soccer game. The background is actually a tube slide. This is a cell phone pic that I have enlarged to an 11 by 14 and have framed and hanging in my house. What I did, there's a playground there. She went down the slide. I'm down at the bottom thinking, well, I'll take a couple snapshots of her coming down the slide and realized she had this static electricity because of the plastic tube. So I asked her to do it again a second time. This is shot with my cell phone. I took it into Photoshop and this is what I have. I got rid of this because I wanted this now to be a portrait. I wanted this to be, I post-visualized this. Well, I kind of did at the moment, but I really post-visualized this. When I shot this, this is what I saw, the hair. Fun, cute, whatever. Post, I feel like it looks very Asian and that it's, I guess they call it a gong that they, have hanging. I got rid of imperfections. Like I said, this is distracting it. And some of these little things, this was a distraction to me. And so I took it into Photoshop, did my thing so I could print it. Again, everyday moment, cell phone. You can get more than what you think you're going to get. And I post-visualized this then as more of a, you could think of it as a moon, you could think of it as a sun, but I kind of saw this Asian gong back there. This is actually a snap of a video of a cell phone. I am on the sled with him down a hill behind him. I'm right behind him. And I just videotaped the back of his head basically and the sled action. And when we were done, he turned around and said, well, he did this. And then he said, that was awesome. So I did a screenshot of the video of my cell phone. So again, the things you can get without ever knowing you're going to get them. I love this. It was a great run, absolutely great. And his expression shows it. And it was, again, the last image of a video from a cell phone that I could make into a still photo. So be aware. I think I've said before, I have 20,000 pictures on my cell phone. So I take it with me. This is when he was a baby. We're out back. He's in one of these saucer things so they can stand up on their own. There's a little, it's not even a mirror. It's really like a piece of metal or whatever that reflects. I got up and I had to take like 4 or 5 shots because he's bouncing and moving. I wanted this. This is really where I am, but I wanted to see this. So I just kind of finagled my way. Again, cell phone shot, just living life. Observing and thought, wow, how cute is this? So now I couldn't do this without showing a weird picture of a cat. Everybody has pets. He's up on my lap. I just put my cell phone up right in front of him and, he looks ridiculous. So again, don't forget your pets when you're photographing your family. Now these, all right. One more. Oh, no. Yep. Okay. The next 3 are very personal photos. Again, it's not always about capturing a masterpiece. Some of these were intentionally and printable and everything. But the important thing when you're photographing family and friends is to capture memories. So the next 3 are sort of a documentation of a part of life. And how did I write up this? It's memory catching. Probably a lot of you know, my sister had passed from cancer, but this is during her chemo. Neither she nor I are selfie people, and we did selfies the entire way through. I have a ton of selfies and such. she's doing an 8-hour chemo infusion here. I would go with her. I'd have her 2 kids. Here's the other one's foot. And we would hang out until those 2 got antsy. Then we'd go usually to Adams Rookie Park or what have you. This was off Erford Road. But this is, I think we've all probably seen this, but this little square thing of paper that you fold up and you go in and out and in and out and you have them pick choices and then it, whatever, it's a kid's toy. She is totally oblivious to what she's going through. And my niece is totally oblivious to what my sister's going through. And my sister wanted it that way. She was just shy of 8 when my sister passed away. My nephew was 6.5. So these are things that when they get older, they will be very happy that were documented. It's cell phone, harsh lighting, a moment of, it is what it is, but these guys will be very happy because what they understood it to be at the time is not what it was. And I think they will appreciate what their mom went through without knowing it at the time when they get older. So this is just one in the series. This is a selfie. And my sister did this bottom part, which I had to share this weird thing. So we would do funny faces sometimes, a very serious moment, very tough part of life. She didn't want it to ever be that way for them. So we did funny faces. These are supposed to be duck faces, which I did not do very well. And my sister ended up out of nowhere, took these images that my niece is this dog with the tongue out. I'm Dory. My sister's this, I don't know if it's an alpaca, I think, and he's this cat. She nailed it. So this is one, I think I even have it. I might be it used to be my cover photo for my Facebook. I don't think it is right now. I think I have a Steelers one up, but just, it is what it is. These kids will be more than happy to have that documentation. It's a life documentation is what this is. We're down at Johns Hopkins. She's being infused and you would never know it. Same thing. Now, I had her look at me, but these are things I'll share with the kids when they get older, that her demeanor through all of it is not what you may have. This is what she wanted them to know at the time. So documenting life, that's what these 3 in the series are. This is, my sister was over getting infused. We went over to Adams Rookie and she's just cartwheeling. I'm way down the hill, cell phone. She's all shadowed. This isn't anything. I'm just taking photos. But I took it into Photoshop and I made this out of it. It's a couple of steps to do this, and I'll send the instructions. You can do this with any image. And I can send the instructions to either Dennis or Joe and let them share it via email. But I've lightened her up, and I call this, her name is Sammy cartwheeling around the world. So just to make it into something, I decided that's what I would do. So again, an everyday moment into a piece of art, and this was post-visualizing more than pre-visualizing. Again, cell phone. This is another cell phone moment in the backyard of my daughter's house, playing with kids, and they had these flyovers of, I don't know what you call these things, little air things. What I obviously really liked is the color scheme. It's, I love this setting here with the red barn. It's all green. These guys were even red. And my granddaughter is watching this. This is a cell phone pic. You can see all the specular highlights that it's picking up. I've got wires going through here. So I took this into Photoshop and I did an oil painting filter overlay on it. I cleaned it up, and I also have this enlarged and printed, and I printed it on matte paper, and I have it hanging in my house. It looks like an oil painting. Took out the wires, cleaned up what I wanted to clean, but it wasn't until I originally called this, I think, the wonderment, a child's wonderment. The way she's looking at it and seeing these things. But I just was down at the Brandywine Art Museum, and they have Andrew Wyeth's gallery there. And it dawned on me, which I should have probably included the image in this slideshow. He has a very famous painting called Christina's World. And it's a girl, she's laying in the grass, looking up. It's a more dramatic, what's the word I want to say? Well, just a dramatic scene. But when I was there looking at his art, Christina's World, I thought that's exactly what this reminds me of. And it was not shot intentionally that way, but post visualizing, this is now called Ray's World. So you never know what you're going to get. Backyard, playing with the kids, cell phone on me, taking some photos, decided instead of just shooting them the flyover, I wanted the environment. And it became, to me, it was more about her and what she was seeing versus the actual flyover of the, whatever you call those things. Just have 2 more images, so hopefully I'm doing on time. This is actually an engagement shot. I'm there with another photographer. This couple has, it's a Willys Jeep, important to the family. It's been in the family forever, so they want to photograph with that. The other photographers off to the side actually getting them, their faces, this aspect. And I just walked down, the lighting was, it was getting to be dusk. It was awesome. I shot a silhouette, and you see, especially her, but you see them highlighted by the setting sun behind them. You get a feel for what everything is, but it's more about the environment and a silhouette. So again, it doesn't always have to be their faces. It's the mood that you set with the image. Was not planned. The other photographer was there photographing. At this time, we didn't need me to have a second angle of what we were shooting. I just walked down the wheat, I think this is a wheat field, and saw what I wanted to see. I crouched down so that again, I think it's wheat, was up into the image. So this is just peeking out, and rule of thirds concept. They're off to the side, light hitting them behind, no flash because I wanted them to be silhouetted. So when I metered, I did not meter for them. I metered for the sky so they would drop off and be silhouetted. And last shot, same thing, sunset picture, wedding. I want to tell you, no flash. I want to tell you, I shot this one, I think was, yeah, ISO is 1600. It was, we were hoping for sunset, got one. This is out at Strox. Same thing, got down on ground level because I wanted as much of the sky versus the horizon that I could get. And they did this on their own. This was, I guess, something that they do. She even had a cowboy hat on by this point. It was reception. He was already out of his dress stuff, casual shot. And it's sort of like a ta-da moment, the way this is. Still showing some of the environment, the silhouette of the farmland, but it's really about them. I did have to, honestly, I did do a little work on this area post to brighten it up a bit so that they would stand out just a little bit more than I had them in the shot. And that is it.
Very nice.
Anybody have any questions?
Okay, Eve, thank you very much. Those are beautiful images, informative and heartwarming stories. We appreciate you sharing that with us. So yes, let's open it up. Anybody have any questions or comments for Eve?
Thank you, Eve. It was a great presentation.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Terry. Thank you.
Eve, it was terrific. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. I hope that I tried to do more that were everyday life that it's photographing family and friends, yet if you're going to pose them, what you need to do or think about doing at the moment also.
You give us lots to think about, Eve. Thank
Oh,
you.
thanks. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Eve, can I ask you a question? It's so convenient to have a cell phone for any, particularly with kids.
Yes.
The difficulty I find, maybe because I have big hands, whatever, is I just cannot seem to hold it secure, particularly if I'm not on where I would have a soft landing for the phone when I drop it, which would be often. Do you find it awkward, or do you have just got used to it, or do you use an attachment to hold it, or? what do
No,
you-
I don't use an attachment, but I happen to have my cell phone with me. If I videotape, I have a pet peeve about the way some people videotape, by the way. They videotape, I'm gonna hold this up vertically. We don't look at a TV in that aspect. This is the aspect that we see on a screen. So I actually had a teenager show me this, by the way. If you place your hands like this,
Oh,
Your-
okay. Yeah.
your finger up here, your
Yeah.
pinky down here, and I do not have small or big hands. I have very small hands. I can videotape and I can hold it pretty steady. So if you're going to videotape, but
Okay.
you know, I mean, if I'm going to do a portrait shot or whatever, I don't use an arm attachment aspect, but
Yeah.
there's a little trick. Shoot your video horizontally, not vertically, but
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, Rich, there is an attachment on the market that simulates a DSLR or mirrorless camera in the way you hold your cell phone.
Oh,
You can fit your cell phone right in there, and it just gives you that same feel.
oh. Okay.
There you go.
If that's an issue. Now, of course, you lose that compactness
Yeah,
and
right.
flatness of the flash, but it
Right.
gives you a nice sturdy grip similar to a
Do you remember the
DSLR.
name of it, Dennis, or?
I'll put it out in the email tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
and
Eve, for-
another good point, sort of what he is going on to is, if I'm shooting something that I want a correct perspective and I have time, I will look at my screen and I will look for the distortion that I'm not getting, like I don't want it keystoned or whatever, and take my time and really compose it that way. So I have it flat against and directly, you know, parallel to the whatever it is I'm taking. You can work on that in editing too, but that's another thing. So anyway.
You feel guilty?
Eve, this
Eve,
is
that
Dave.
children-
This
The children are such a subject for you, kids shoot them all the time. Excuse me for interrupting.
I'm sorry, say that again?
No, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say is that, you know, say I have only one granddaughter or whatever, but I'm there, whatever, I can't shoot enough because she's so, kids are just that way. You can get a million of them.
Exactly.
Good, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Eve, I wanted to second what Patty Volpe said. You gave me an awful lot to think about because I was looking at your shots and thinking how I shoot. And I tend to be a little bit tighter sometimes, and I don't put in the environment like you have on the screen right now. It's just fantastic. And I really gave me a lot to think about. Thank you very
Sure.
much.
Sure. Thank you.
Eve, this
David-
is Dave Marquetto, and I really second what everybody else said. Condolences on your sister, of course.
Mhm.
And having worked in the cancer center myself in Boston, you really bring out the humanity of the setting that your sister found herself in. And you don't usually see that in the technology and the sort of cold, sterile environment that a cancer center sometimes can be perceived as. So I was very moved by that.
Well, thank you. And the other thing too is sometimes in the one that I have with my niece, there would be other patients there usually. I was very cognizant of not photographing them. I made sure I was at an angle because that's an invasion. I mean, this was something that we did and typically none of those had been shared. You know, it's really for she wanted a memory for her children is what she wanted and you know, something that they can see in hindsight. But that's the other thing. If you're in an environment like that, be cognizant of other people and give them the privacy that they deserve also.
Well, it's going to be a remarkable photographic journey for your family, and I think you really bring that to the presentation, the personal and emotional content behind the work you do. And I was just very moved and wanted to compliment you in that regard.
Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, Eve, a question on that with the family members. So you obviously have family members that are anxious to see the photos. Are you, do you have a normal process for sharing the photos? I mean, because sometimes they're, larger files, so maybe they might be getting 10 or 12 or more. So how do you do that to share back with them?
Depending on what is to be done with them, I guess I'd say. Facebook posts, for instance, I process everything. I merge all the layers in Photoshop, flatten an image for a JPEG so it's not so big. So if I'm texting them even or whatever, emailing, but for print, I keep them a bigger file for print. So depending on what they are for and how I'm sharing and what they're, so a lot of times like this for a bridal situation, I will send within a day or two, I'll send some JPEG, usually text, because you usually have their cell phone, before I put anything on Facebook, just in case they don't like their style or something weird. So if it's a non-family member, I will send them a preview privately.
Okay. Thanks.
Hi, Eve. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Can I ask who or where you have them printed? Like what company you use?
White House Printing is one of them, White House Custom Print. Prior to COVID, I was assisting over at HAC at Harrisburg Area Community College in their Photoshop program, and I printed all my own. I much prefer to print my own because I know what I want. So, I'll send a couple trial small pictures through till I get what I want, tweak, and then print it the size I want. But another good lab is Miller. I know a lot of people use Miller, but professional lab that you calibrate with them. You send some trial images to them and then they send you a print. And that's what you see on your screen is what you want. And then you can do it that way. But those are two right off the bat that have good reputation.
Another one is MPix, and they're related to Miller's, but it's the non-professional end of it. I've always had good luck, very good luck with MPix.
I don't know, does anybody print locally?
I do, Eve. I print locally on an Epson printer, and it works out well for me anyway.
Same here.
Okay, and you have a Canon printer, right, Dennis?
Epson.
Oh, I don't know why I was thinking you had a Canon.
I was trying to get rid of a Canon.
Maybe that's what I remember. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you have it. Yeah, I kind of like the control of printing on myself. So, but
thank you.
Sure.
Okay, other questions or comments?
But by the way, just one quick thing, a strange podcast I listened to with Graham Nash was an interviewee who is Crosby, Stills Nash, and who's a great collector of a great photographer himself, but he raves about it and has for years used Epson printers. And it's a whole podcast on which he recommends because he likes to go local. Strange combination of a kind of rock folk singer.
Yeah. Art for an artist, I guess. And that's what they have over at HAC is the Epson printers. And I think they're the best, but that's what I'm used to. So anyways.
Okay, guys, would you please unmute yourselves as we like to do? Give you a second to do that. And let's give Eve a great big round of applause. All right.
Thanks.
Super.
Thanks, Eve. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Eve.
Yeah, thanks. Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Eve.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, I'll get an email out tomorrow morning with the link to the recording and a link to that phone camera accessory. and the schedule of upcoming events, which includes the trips. So Eve, thanks again. Good night, guys.
Night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Joe, did putting the headphones on make any difference with my audio?
It
Yeah.
made it, it fixed it 100%.
It did.
100%.
Good. Wow.
100%. As soon as you did that, it fixed.
I was assuming it was an issue with the wireless network.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
No,
Okay,
It sounds perfect.
well, then we'll stick with the headphones.
Okay.
All right.
That was a great session, man. I really enjoyed that. Eve, you're on now, I can see.
Yeah,
Here,
yeah.
let me just stop the recording here. We can speak informally off the
Yeah.
record. There we go.